Welcome back to Thresholds and Transits. This is Megan. I am happy that you're here. If you want more information about me, you can go to meganriley.eu. I moved to Greece and am living and working from Greece and am offering free or donation-based astrology readings. As I go through formal training in astrology, I'm interested to speak to as many people as I possibly can and don't feel comfortable charging for readings yet, so I am offering them by donation. You can go to the website meganriley.eu and click on the Astrology tab and find out more information, send me a message, or just book the reading. So today I want to talk about Cancer as the astrological new year. This was news to me, and so I did a deep dive in the last 48 hours, and I'm really inspired about it. Now, this is inspired by the upcoming Saturn and Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees in Aries next week. Next week or the following week? In a few days, right? And what we hear about it is it's a very big deal. Now, it is a very big deal because it's never happened before. It's never happened in as far back as we have measured at 0 degrees in Aries. But, and a lot of the pop astrology that we're seeing out there is conflating the idea that this is, it's at 0 point in Aries, which is the war planet, and it's never been done before because this is the beginning. It's the beginning, and I have, even on this channel, have said that this is the beginning of the astrological new year. It's at 0 point. It's at that 0 point, which is significant. But I'm thinking, especially after the last 48 hours of really going into this, it's a little bit less significant than most of us in the astrology world are making it out to be. And I want to diffuse the energy just a little bit. Yes, it's a big deal. Having something at 0 degrees is a big deal. At Aries is a big deal. But is it at the beginning like Aries is, or has that been determined by something as part of the system? As part of the patriarchy, as part of white supremacy, has that been determined as part of the system in order to diminish the yin energy and emphasize yang energy? So I heard about this over the weekend and then started doing some research. So I have something written that I would like to share with you, and it's exciting to me. So stay with me because there's something to this, and there's a whole different way to look at the astrological calendar, but also as from where we are coming, and if ancient astrology and Hellenistic astrology is, from where we are coming, there's something to this. Now that I'm living in Greece and studying Hellenistic astrology, I think that is no accident. Okay, so here we go. What if the entire framework of modern astrology is built on a colonial, patriarchal starting point, and the original system told a completely different story? Most people learn that Aries begins the zodiac. It's treated as a settled fact, and I certainly have spoken about it, but the oldest astrological teaching chart, the Thema Mundi, places Cancer at the ascendant, not Aries. And this is not a fringe theory. It's the foundational logic that Hellenistic astrologers used to derive the entire system of planetary rulerships, dignities, and sect. Without Cancer as the origin, the architecture of astrology doesn't hold together. Today, I want to unpack on why the year was moved from Cancer to Aries and what that shift reveals about whose knowledge gets centered and what changes when we put it back. So the case for Aries. To be fair, the conventional argument before dismantling it, the spring equinox, which is around March 21st, marks the moment day and night are equal and light begins to overtake our darkness for the Northern Hemisphere. There's an intuitive logic to this calling it the beginning. Aries is ruled by Mars. It symbolizes initiation, raw energy, that first spark. The ram leads the flock. The Babylonians formalized this around 500 BCE. At that time, the constellation Aries was rising at dawn on the vernal equinox, so they designated as it the sign 1. This was practical, mathematical standardization. It made astronomical calculation easier, but practical and original are not the same thing. Here's the core theoretical argument. The Thema Mundi is a mythical birth chart of the world used in Hellenistic astrology as a teaching tool. It wasn't meant to represent a literal moment. It was designed to explain why the system works the way that it does. In the Thema Mundi, Cancer sits at the first house. Life does not begin with an act of will or conquest like in Aries. It begins with the emergence from a womb. The universe is born into water, protection, and care. Aries sits at the 10th house, the midheaven, the highest visible point. This means warrior energy isn't the beginning of life, it's the culmination of life. We are born into nurturing, and only after being cared for do we develop the capacity to lead or fight. The two luminaries, the moon and the sun, are placed in Cancer and Leo side by side. From there, the remaining 5 visible planets are assigned their home signs outward in order: Mercury to Gemini and Virgo, Venus to Taurus and Libra, Mars to Aries and Scorpio, Jupiter to Pisces and Sagittarius, Saturn to Aquarius and Capricorn. This symmetrical arrangement is the foundation of the entire dignity system. If you start from Aries, the domicile assignments become arbitrary. From Cancer, they are architecturally inevitable. The sect system. So the Thema Mundi also establishes the sect division, day team versus night team. Moon in Cancer anchors the nocturnal set. Sun in Leo anchors the morning sect. This polarity is structurally dependent on Cancer as the origin point. In the Thema Mundi, Jupiter, which is the great benefic, is exalted in Cancer. The universe begins in a state of abundance, protection, and divine favor, not scarcity or struggle. Now, in the Egyptian New Year, Wepet Renpet was determined by the rising of Sirius, which is the dog star, in mid-July. We also call this the Lion's Gate. This astronomical event coincided with Cancer rising on the eastern horizon. Sirius's appearance signaled the annual flooding of the Nile. The Nile brought back silt, called kemet, from which alchemy is derived, which was the literal fertility of the land returning. This was Wet New Year. It was based on environmental feedback on the land telling you the cycle was renewing. Contrast this with the Aries equinox, a dry New Year, based on the sun crossing an abstract mathematical line. The Egyptian calendar wasn't oriented around solar geometry. It was oriented around survival. When the river rises, life begins. The scarab connection. So in Egyptian symbolism, Cancer was represented by the scarab beetle, the deity who pushes the sun across the sky every morning. Cancer is not passive. It was the force that initiated the movement of light itself. Here's the irony of the Aries first system. The constellation Aries hasn't actually aligned with the vernal equinox for roughly 2,000 years. Due to precession, the vernal point is now in Pisces and moving towards Aquarius. The Aries first framework is already disconnected from the astronomical reality it claims as its foundation. The Cancer first framework never depended on a fixed stellar alignment. It was structural and mythological. It's actually more internally consistent because it doesn't need a particular era's sky to justify itself. From stellar to solar, Before the Babylonians standardized the zodiac, older systems were stellar, not solar. Calendars were oriented around star risings, like Sirius, the Pleiades, and agricultural or river cycles, not equinoxes. The equinox-based system was a later mathematical abstraction that served administrative and imperial needs. The Cancer-led year prioritizes the moon, the mother, people, the collective body. An Aries-led year prioritizes Mars, the soldier, the hero, the conqueror. It mirrors the broader historical pattern of patriarchal cultures overriding matrilineal and earth-based systems with solar marital frameworks. Cross-culturally, many indigenous cultures are lunar to begin with water or harvest cycles, not solar equinoxes. This 13-month lunar calendar traditions across Africa, pre-colonial Americas, and parts of Asia align naturally with the Cancer first, or moon-ruled water-based framework. The Aries first model assumes the year begins with action. The Cancer first model assumes the year begins with conditions for life. One asks, what do I do? And the other asks, what do I need? That's not the minor stylistic difference. It's fundamentally different cosmology. We walk through all 12 houses with Cancer as the first. When Cancer is placed on the ascendant, every house gets a new sign, and the story of life changes from a hero's conquest narrative to a cycle of emergence, cultivation, and return. First house, Cancer. So self-identity. Your primary identity is defined by emotional intelligence, intuition, and the capacity to nurture. The self isn't a warrior. The self is a caretaker. Your body is sensitive to environment, cycles, and the needs of others. The moon rules your chart, making your inner emotional world the most important planet in the system. Identity is fluid, tidal, responsive. Second house, Leo. Resources, values, self-worth. What you value and how you sustain yourself is tied to the creative self-expression, visibility, and heart-centered work. You earn through what you create and radiate. Self-worth comes from being seen authentically, not from accumulation. The sun rules this house, connecting your resources directly to your vitality. Third house, Virgo. Communication, learning, siblings. Your daily mind and communication style is analytical, service-oriented, and precise. Mercury rules here, giving a practical, discerning quality on how you process information and interact with your immediate environment. Learning is through doing, refining, and improving. Fourth house, Libra. Home, roots, foundation. Your private life and emotional foundations are built on harmony, beauty, and partnership. Home is where balance lives. Your roots are relational, not just biological. Venus rules the foundation of your life, suggesting that your deepest sense of belonging comes through aesthetic harmony and fairness in your closest bonds. Fifth house, Scorpio. Your creative expression and sources of pleasure run deep. Joy isn't surface level. It comes from transformation, intensity, and emotional honesty. Romance is all or nothing. Mars, the traditional ruler, makes creativity and active will and courage. This is where you pour out your passion. Sixth house, Sag. Daily routines, health, service. Your approach to health, daily work, and acts of service is expansive and philosophical. Routine can't be monotonous or you disengage. Jupiter rules here, making service feel like a calling rather than a chore. Health improves through moment, travel, learning, and connection to something larger than the daily grind. Seventh house, Capricorn. Partnerships, marriage, open enemies. You're drawn to partners who offer structure, maturity, authority, and long-term stability. Relationships are serious commitments, not casual explorations. Saturn rules partnerships, meaning that your most important relationships teach you discipline, accountability, and patience. There's a quality of building something enduring together. 8th house Aquarius, shared resources, death, and transformation. Your encounters with other people's resources, with loss, and with the taboo, and with deep psychological transformation are filtered through Aquarian detachment and innovation. Saturn, the traditional ruler, and Uranus, the modern ruler, both operate here. Transformation comes through breaking from convention, through the shock of the new, and through collective rather than purely personal crisis. 9th house Pisces, philosophy, higher learning, long distance travel. Your belief systems, spiritual life, and sense of meaning dissolve boundaries. Jupiter, the traditional ruler, expands your worldview toward the mystical, the compassionate, the universal. Faith is intuitive, not doctrinal. Higher education and long distance travel serve the soul more than the resume. 10th house Aries, career, public legacy, and authority. This is where the warrior energy lives, not at the beginning, but at the peak. Your public role and career are where you express Mars energy, initiative, courage, leadership, and the willingness to fight. But in a Cancer-led chart, you don't fight for yourself, you fight for your nest, your people, your community. The aggression is in service of protection. 11th house Taurus, community, friends, hopes, your social networks and long-term visions are Venusian, grounded, sensual, loyal, and oriented towards tangible abundance. Community is built through shared pleasure, shared resources, and a steady presence. Your hopes for the future are practical and embodied, not abstract. 12th house, Gemini, hidden life, isolation, and undoing. The hidden realm, the unconscious, the things you can't easily see about yourself are mercurial, scattered, dual. Mercury rules your blind spots. The 12th house in Gemini suggests that your undoing comes from overthinking, from splitting your attention, from living too much in the mind and not enough in the body. But it also means your access to the unseen world comes through language, writing, and communication with the invisible. So what changes? The moon becomes the most important planet in the chart. Your emotional body, your intuition, your responsiveness to cycles, all of this becomes the foundation of identity. In the Aries first model, Mars leads. In the Cancer first model, the moon leads. Mars rules both the 5th, creativity and joy, and the 10th, career and legacy. In the Vedic astrology, a planet ruling both a trine and an angle like this is called a yoga karaka, a planet of exceptional power and positive outcomes. Your drive, your will, your capacity for action is channeled entirely into creative work and public service. Saturn rules the 7th, partnerships, and the 8th, transformation. The hardest lessons come from relationships and through confronting what you share with others, including grief, inheritance, and psychological depth. The narrative shifts. In the Aries first model, the story of the Zodiac is act, acquire, think, feel, create, serve, partner, transform, believe, achieve, belong, dissolve. In the Cancer first model, the story is feel, create, analyze, harmonize, transform, expand, commit, liberate, believe, fight, sustain, dissolve. The first word changes from I act to I feel. That single shift reframes the entire human journey from conquest to responsiveness. So this isn't about declaring one system right or another wrong. It might be. It might be. It's recognizing that the starting point of a system shapes everything that follows. And the starting point we inherited wasn't neutral. It was chosen. It was chosen by cultures that valued expansion, individuation, and strength. So what happens when you put the water back at the beginning? When you start with the flood, the womb, the moon, the feeling, the entire zodiac reorganizes around care, creativity, sustainability rather than conquest. So have a look. What would happen if you change your rising to Cancer? Put Cancer in the left side and see what falls where. See what notice what changes. And if you, I want to go deeper with this. I want to do more with this. I'm really excited. And what's coming is that I'm building this all into an episode about the Saturn-Neptune conjunction and different ways that we can look at it rather than conflating it and building the energy around fear. Is how can we really have this be something that's empowering for everything that's happening right now, and everything that's happening right now as a way to inspire us. Again, I have free donation-based readings on my website, meganriley.eu. I have all sorts of other stuff there too. If you're going through change, if you are in transition, that may be an interesting place for you. And you can comment here. I would love more information and comments.